The night the first scream cut through the West Virginia hills, nobody slept. Shadows moved in the tree line, and something watched, with eyes like burning embers. Point Pleasant wasn't much. Just over 4,000 souls squeezed into 3 quiet square miles of farmland and river-touched woods. But in late 1966, that sleepy little riverside town became the ground zero for something none dared explain. On the surface, Point Pleasant was peaceful. Church bells rang, dogs barked at passing headlights. The Ohio River lapped lazily against weathered docks, a quaint river town. But beneath the calm, the land breathed tension. The forest edges looked deeper than before. The wind sounded older. Something had stirred. Then the stories began. Whispers at first. Strange flashes in the trees. Eyes in the darkness. Accounts trickled in from folks living just beyond town, on isolated roads near the old TNT ammunition bunkers, behind crumbling concrete igloos half buried in moss and silence. Neighbors didn't know each other, but their sightings matched. A tall shadow, larger than any man. A pair of red lights hovering above the woods, motionless. A sound, a scream, that rattled windows and chilled bones. Even as skeptics prepared explanations, misidentified birds blown off migration by wind, illusions born of fear, the fear itself grew real. Fear walks slowly at first, then it settles in. And by the end of that first month, Point Pleasant was no longer just a town. It was the threshold to something deep unknown. The first official sighting didn't come from drunks or thrill seekers. It came from the dead. November 12th, 1966. 5 gravediggers working near Clendenin were preparing burial plots when something stirred in the trees. At first, they thought it was a man, but it wasn't. It stepped out from the tree line, 7 feet tall, wings furled like a sleeping bat, and then, without a sound, it launched into the sky. They watched, frozen, as it glided overhead, slow, controlled, not flapping like a bird, sliding, silent, like smoke moving uphill. It vanished beyond the hills. 2 nights later, another sighting. Salem, West Virginia. A man named Newell Partridge sat in his living room when his TV flickered violently, buzzing with static. Outside, in the field behind his home, 2 red lights hovered just above the tree line. He thought they were aircraft lights, until they blinked. When he stepped outside to investigate, his flashlight caught something perched in a tree. It was tall, humanoid, and those lights weren't lights. They were eyes. They stared back. Then the thing unfurled its wings and rose into the air, letting out a scream that Partridge would never forget. It wasn't animal. It wasn't human. It was wrong. His German Shepherd Bandit bolted after it. Partridge never saw his dog again. Only silence remained. The next night, terror drove 4 people straight into the Mason County Sheriff's Office. 2 young couples, Roger and Linda Scarberry, and Steve and Mary Mallett, burst through the doors, pale and shaking. Their story was nearly incoherent, but the fear in their eyes was real. They'd been driving near the TNT area, a maze of abandoned World War II bunkers and dense woods just outside Point Pleasant. That's when they saw it. A figure stood by the roadside. Not a man, not quite. It was massive, 7 feet at least, with wide folded wings pressed against its back. Its eyes were glowing, red, unblinking. And at its feet, the body of a dog. The Scarberrys recognized the breed immediately. It matched Bandit, the same dog that vanished the night before. As they passed, the creature unfolded its wings with a slow, predatory grace and rose into the air. Then it followed them. Roger floored it. The car hit 100 miles per hour down the narrow rural road, but the thing kept pace, gliding above them, watching. Linda cried. Mary couldn't speak. The eyes burned into the rearview mirror. It didn't flap. It didn't tire. Then, just as they hit the city limits, it broke off, vanished, back toward the bunkers. The next day, a press conference was held. The couples told their story to a packed room. A wildlife expert, Dr. Robert Smith, offered a calm explanation. They saw a crane, he said, just a large bird blown off course. But no bird chases cars at 100 miles per hour. And no bird has eyes that glow like burning coals in the night. That same night, as newspapers hit doorsteps with headlines about a winged monster, the terror wasn't done. Around dusk, Raymond and Kathy Walmsley were driving with Marcella Bennett and her baby daughter Tina. Their destination, the Thomas residence, just on the edge of the TNT area. They pulled up quietly, no traffic, no wind, just the hum of the engine cooling as they stepped out. Then, movement. From the shadows, something massive rose. Gray, winged, eyes glowing like coals inside a dying fire. It had been lying there just feet from the car, waiting. Marcella screamed. In the chaos, she dropped her baby. The others froze in place as she scrambled to scoop Tina off the gravel. Then they all ran. The Thomases opened the door just in time. They slammed it shut behind them. But the thing followed. It didn't try to enter. It didn't need to. It watched. For nearly half an hour, it circled the house, peering in through every window, never blinking, never making a sound. By the time police arrived, it was gone. No trace, no prints. Just the memory of those burning eyes and the feeling, deep, paralyzing dread. Marcella would later say that wasn't her last encounter. The creature returned, again and again, watching her home. Screaming in the dark woods, sleep became impossible. She suffered nightmares, anxiety, a growing belief that something had attached itself to her. And always, she heard the scream, a sound like metal tearing inside a tunnel, a sound she could never forget. The sightings clustered around one place, an abandoned war relic turned breeding ground for nightmares. Locals called it the TNT area. It was once a munitions site during World War II. Now it was a decaying sprawl of overgrown bunkers, cracked concrete domes, and rusting pipes snaking through the forest like veins. The land was toxic, the silence deeper than it should have been, and something about it felt wrong. The igloos were built to contain explosions, but in the winter of 1966, they seemed to be containing something else. Almost every major sighting of the creature tracked back to that area. Hunters avoided it. Locals warned kids away. And still, the red eyes were seen, staring from the trees, glowing inside the bunkers, perched atop the structures like a sentinel from another world. It didn't stop. Through the end of 1966 and into 1967, reports poured in. Couples, families, even police officers swore they saw it. But then, something changed. On December 15, 1967, 1 year after the sightings began, the Silver Bridge collapsed during rush hour. 46 people died. Vehicles plunged into the icy Ohio River. And as the town mourned, the sighting stopped. Completely. Gone. Some believed it was coincidence, structural failure, bad engineering. But others whispered something darker. That the creature had been a warning, a harbinger. That it came before disaster, and left after the toll had been paid. After the bridge fell, Point Pleasant was never the same. Not because of the wreckage, because of the silence that followed. The eyes vanished, the screams ceased, and the creature, whatever it was, disappeared without a trace. But the town couldn't forget. Too many saw it, too many heard it, and too many wondered. What was it really? Some blamed a mass hallucination, others called it hysteria. A desperate town projecting fear onto shadows. But not everyone believed that. Theories bloomed like fungus in the dark. Cryptid, alien, government experiment, or something far older, something tied to land soaked in blood and war. The skeptics had their favorite, the sandhill crane, a tall bird with red feathers around its eyes. But that didn't explain the speed, the intelligence, the intent, and it certainly didn't explain the glowing eyes seen without any light source. Linda Scarberry once said, "That thing knew we were afraid, and it liked it." It wasn't just a creature, it was watching, it was deciding, and maybe, just maybe, it wasn't the only one. Then came the connections no one wanted to make. People started talking, and the more they did, the darker it got. Just weeks before the first Mothman sighting, a man named Woodrow Derenberger was driving along Route 177 near Parkersburg, about an hour from Point Pleasant, when a strange vehicle hovered into view and forced him to stop. It wasn't a car. It wasn't a plane. It was something else. From it stepped a man, grinning, wide, unblinking. He didn't speak with his mouth. He spoke inside Derenberger's head, said his name was Indrid Cold. He asked questions about the town, the people, the lights in the distance. Then he smiled again and left, vanishing into the sky. Weeks later, the Mothman appeared. And for those paying attention, the pieces didn't just suggest a creature. They suggested an arrival. Throughout the next year, reports of strange lights in the sky skyrocketed. Locals swore they saw crafts hovering over the river. Paranormal activity spiked. Radios cut out. Phones went dead. Men in black suits began knocking on doors, asking strange questions, offering vague warnings. Some witnesses went silent. Others vanished from public life entirely. It wasn't just a monster anymore. It was part of something bigger, something coordinated. And then it all stopped, as if whatever it was had finished what it came to do. Years passed. The fear faded, but the legend never died. And then, on November 20th, 2016, almost exactly 50 years after the first reported sighting, a man near Point Pleasant took a photo. In it, a figure in midair, wings extended, a long form clutching something in its talons. Maybe a bird, maybe a trick of the light. But those who'd seen the real thing, they weren't so sure, because the eyes were red, and the shape wasn't quite right. Was it the Mothman? Had it returned, or had it ever really left? Point Pleasant doesn't have answers, just questions whispered on the wind. A collapsed bridge, a grieving town, a creature no one could explain. So we're left with a choice. Do we believe it was just a story, stitched together from fear, rumor, and coincidence? Or do we accept the darker possibility that something ancient, something intelligent, something watching, came to town and left its mark? And if that's true, then maybe it's watching still.